Without another word, he swept me up in a sideways embrace. In his frustration, he blurted out whatever came to mind. I tried to hold back, but couldn't. "You're the one who's sick." Yet I remained nestled in his arms, unmoving. The scent of tobacco and gasoline from Suching mingled in the air around his nostrils. In the past, I would have cursed and demanded that Suching put me down, but this time, I just endured the discomfort and snuggled closer into his embrace. His body tensed suddenly. Sucheng's rented room was small and run down. After setting me down, he realized he had grabbed the wrong coat and, unable to suppress his irritation, he ruffled his hair. Then he pulled out a new coat and tossed it onto the bed, his tone harsh. "Go take a shower." Suching was wearing a white tank top, already damp and clinging to his body, outlining his sturdy muscles. But now it was already autumn. Feeling a bit guilty, I dared not look at him and tightened the coat around myself. "You go first." Except for getting drenched at the beginning, I was actually fine. Moreover, Suching had forcefully covered me alone with an umbrella while he himself got soaked through. Suching was silent. Then after a long pause, he chuckled meaningfully. "Are you scheming about divorce again, using the excuse that you're ill and I didn't take care of you well?" I suddenly looked up, meeting Sucheng's expressionless face. He had very handsome features, but combined, they made him look like a mafia boss, which was somewhat intimidating to me. Now, I opened my mouth, but couldn't articulate a single defensive word, because this was indeed something I might do. Seeing my silence, Suching tugged at the corner of his mouth. Finally, as if compromising, he closed his eyes. "All right, you go shower first. You've always been pampered, and if you really get sick, others will suffer the hassle. Don't worry about the divorce. If you really dislike it, I won't trap you. There's no need to make yourself miserable in this way. No, it's not like that." Seeing Suching turn to leave, I hurriedly reached out and grabbed his arm, not caring as my coat fell. "Let's shower together." "It's just a shower." How did it turn into a discussion about divorce? I blurted this out without thinking through the implications. When I realized what I had said, Suching looked at me, surprised and a bit presumptuous. I quickly wrapped the coat around myself again, unable to contain my temper. I glared at him. "Don't look." Suching chuckled softly, but his smile quickly faded. He turned away, nonchalantly. "Look at you, Miss High and Mighty, now using seduction to force a divorce." I detected the sarcasm in his tone, but indeed, I was in the wrong first, so, swallowing my usual temper, I took out my phone and played a recording. In Union's words clearly filled the small room. I noticed Sucheng's body stiffen abruptly. His hand at his side clenched into a fist then slowly relaxed. "Enough, I know it. Somebody's seducing your wife, making you a cuckold. Are you going to deal with it?" The next second, a voice message I had previously sent to Suching interrupted what he was about to say. He turned his head, seemingly in disbelief. This was the first time I had admitted to being Sucheng's wife. Feeling wronged, I said, "Suching, haven't you seen my messages?" Suching didn't speak, just uncomfortably scratched his nose. Feeling even more aggrieved, I added, "So when I say I won't divorce you, you won't believe me either?" My voice carried a faint, unintentional sob. Suching looked at me sideways. His gaze was deep, filled with an emotion I couldn't read, but he acknowledged it by default. Suching doesn't trust me. This was actually within my expectations. After all, everything I did after our marriage made him feel that I disliked and despised him, even though I didn't really dislike him. I just wanted this as a pretext for divorce. Yet, truly feeling Sucheng's distress, I was still very upset. I know I shouldn't be upset, but this is what I deserve, so, instinctively, I clung to his arm and muttered, "This time, I really won't divorce you. I was the one at fault before. I will treat you better from now on." I had never said these words before, but now, being so straightforward, I couldn't help but blush, closing my eyes and simply spilling everything out. Believe me, but Suching didn't pull his hand away, nor did he respond to me. I was getting anxious and was about to continue speaking when my phone rang. I wanted to dismiss the call without looking, but Suching answered it. He said, "What if it's something important?" But the next second, Shen Luming's gentle voice came through. "Mian Mian, I'm back in the country. Don't worry, I'll take care of that man for you." Upon hearing this, I saw Sucheng's face, which had softened a little, suddenly turned stern again. My heart sank. Shen Luming was about to say more, but I interrupted him hastily. "You misunderstood. I don't need your help with anything." Watching Sucheng's mockingly amused gaze, I gritted my teeth. I've fallen for Suching. In this life, apart from him, I won't marry anyone else. I'm not getting a divorce. My only exit would be widowhood. For some reason, after saying these words, it felt like a huge weight was lifted off my chest. I hung up on Shen Luming. In response, Suching threw a t-shirt at me. "That's enough." His voice was hoarse, and I couldn't make out his expression. "Go take a shower first." I was sent to the bathroom. The narrow bathroom still carried the lingering scent of shower gel. Suching must have been showering earlier. So, the me who had been worrying about how to make Suching believe me was suddenly befuddled by the steam. Memories, somewhat too intimate, surged forward. After being killed by Yun Yun and Shen Luming in my past life, I didn't vanish immediately, for some reason. I could only linger around Suching, so I watched him avenge me. and I watched as he leaned against the wall in my shower, repeatedly calling my name in a low, hoarse voice. After a while, the water washed everything away. Now, all these memories came flooding back to me. I stiffened all over and suddenly felt uncomfortable everywhere and couldn't help but curse Suching under my breath. I originally wanted to take a shower to calm down, but, Suching, what is it? His casual voice immediately responded, not far away. The rental room was small to begin with. I paused, then whispered softly, the shower head is broken. Silence for a moment. The doorknob turned a bit, then suddenly stopped. Shinmian. Suching's tone was calm. I don't have that much self-control, especially after what you just said. I could take it as your agreement. My somewhat muddled brain slowly processed this. I belatedly remembered that in my previous fierce resistance to Suching's approach, I had warned him that he could only touch me with my consent. At that time, Suching, desperately needing money for his mother's medical bills, agreed. So, apart from our wedding day, Suching never touched me again. He stopped moving. Seemingly patiently waiting for my response, the feeling of wet clothes sticking to my body was uncomfortable. I looked down at the little white dress I had specially worn for the outing today. It was wet and semi-transparent, making me hesitate. This man was strong and fierce. It hurt a lot last time, and I really fear pain, perhaps because my silence lasted a bit long. Suching simply let go of the doorknob. I've already sent a message for someone to come pick you up. The towel is new. Wipe yourself off, get dressed, and you can leave. Prepare the divorce papers and send them to me when you're ready. I'll talk to the old man. Shinluming really isn't a good match for you. You can't handle him. His voice was calm, betraying no emotion. Yet, it inexplicably infuriated me. There he goes again, talking about divorce. Previously, he was adamantly against it. By the time I realized what was happening, I had already flung open the bathroom door. I glared at Suche with a defiant and fierce look. If I can handle you, why can't I handle Shinluming? If you're really a man, Suche, then shut up and come in. Suche remained silent, but the look he gave me grew heavier. Then he suddenly burst into a meaningful laugh. Indeed, you can handle me. But Shinluming, just by looking at him, I can tell he's no match for me. My face instantly stiffened. The temperature in the bathroom was high. The hand protecting the back of my head was scorchingly hot. Only the cold tiles made me shiver involuntarily. Thus, a barely audible sigh escaped me. Suche's voice was hoarse, so delicate. The next second, I found myself leaning entirely against his chest. The previously broken shower head was turned on, and the warm water started to flow again. I heard Suche's muffled laugh, knowing he must have mistaken my earlier actions for excuses. But now I could only cling tightly to his shoulders. Suche! I exclaimed in a low voice, the sensation of weightlessness making me embrace his head tightly. Suche lazily reminded, this house isn't very soundproof. Frightened, I shut my mouth and instinctively held him tighter. Not bad. You're not sick, quite strong. Suche chuckled. Hold me tighter. I didn't understand the meaning of Suche's words, until he supported me with one hand, and with the other pressed down on the back of my head. A wave of heat instantly swept over my brain. Feeling like a small boat engulfed by the vast sea's waves, with no chance of escape, it was the same as before, both fierce and intense. The scorching breath made my head dizzy, and I unconsciously tugged at Suche's hair, but that only made him exert more force. No, something was wrong. I really felt dizzy. I tried to push Suche away, but my limbs were weak. In the end, I barely heard him curse. Damn, did a kiss really make you faint? Nonsense. It was clearly too hot in the bathroom. I wanted to argue, but then I passed out. I had a fever. Suche took the blame. My usually caring butler grandfather quietly expressed his dissatisfaction with Suche. Suche listened impatiently. As soon as I woke up, the first thing I did was to shakily but stubbornly grab Suche's arm. Kiss me. One more time. I wanted to prove my innocence. I wasn't fainted due to a kiss. Suche clicked his tongue. The butler grandfather looked at me in shock. My face expressed foolish desire on the left, and desperation on the right. Ashamed, I lowered my head, but I didn't let go. Finally, Suche grabbed my hand and pressed it a few times against his chest, his tone carrying a slight teasing note. Just feel it a bit, and get well first. The disapproval in the old butler's eyes deepened. I glared at Suche, annoyed, but then he turned his head and tattled. She's flirting, you handle it. You know, I'm young and can't help myself. These were the words the butler grandfather had previously scolded Suche with. His face stiffened slightly. Miss, I remained expressionless, but my grip tightened. Suche laughed, his tone slightly off. Seems like you've got a good appetite. Hungry? The old butler quickly called someone to bring porridge, but I knew Suche meant something else. My hand on his chest stiffened, and my face felt a bit hot. Old rascal. I was angry yet strangely at peace. Thankfully, nothing had happened. It was probably because I had been reborn with worries on my mind. This illness came fiercely. The high fever lasted for several days. Suche stayed to take care of me. What a pain. Suche frowned, lifting me with one hand. Open your mouth. Take your medicine. I glanced at the dark circles under Suche's eyes. Without uttering a word, I downed the medicine in one gulp. His suspicious gaze rested on me, then he chuckled. Fine. The ancestor has grown up. I'm delicate and hate hardship. I always throw a tantrum and need coaxing whenever I have to take medicine. Suching is not good at pampering people. That was something I used to really dislike about him, but now, thinking of how he has been tirelessly taking care of me for days, I felt a bit guilty. Why don't you get some sleep? Suching raised an eyebrow at me. Sleep? Yeah, okay. Without another word, he lifted the blanket beside me and lay down. I tensed up. My face stiffened slightly, instinctively wanting to push Suching away, but it wasn't because of this overly familiar gesture. Go take a shower. I know you like cleanliness. I scrubbed myself thoroughly inside and out every time before entering your room, Suching said with his eyes closed and in a casual tone. His other hand naturally patted my waist. His voice sounded tired. Don't move. I really need to sleep. So I dared not move, but it wasn't long before. Suching. I felt both angry and embarrassed. Didn't you say you were sleepy? His eyes remained closed. I can't help it. It's fine. I'll just relax, righteous and bold. I had no choice but to turn away from Suching, huffily closing my eyes. But until I fell asleep, Suching never kept his promise. In a daze, I faintly felt my hand being held. The man chuckled lowly. Geez, that's all the stamina you have. I was awakened by Nyunyan's sobbing. Seeing me awake, she immediately rushed over, her eyes red. Nyunyan. You really scared me to death this time. Shinluming, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, also stood by her side, frowning. Why have you lost so much weight? His tone carried a hint of displeasure. In the past, I would have complained to these two very close people without hesitation, but now, seeing them, all I could think about was how in my previous life I was imprisoned by Shinluming, forced to be his secret lover, and later tortured by Nyunyan's jealousy, so I simply closed my eyes, my voice cold. I'm fine, but you've disturbed my rest. I was figuring out what to do next. The recording I sent to Grandpa last time made him somewhat dissatisfied with Shinluming, but not to the point of being wary. After all, this man is very good at disguising himself and was raised by Grandpa himself. So, what should I do to make Grandpa see Shinluming's true greedy ambitions? As I thought about it, I heard Shinluming sigh. He skillfully reached out to touch my head, his tone indulgent. Upset that brother came back late, I immediately stiffened and avoided him with a conditioned physical disgust. Don't touch me. The movement was a bit large, revealing a hint of a red mark near my collar. Shinluming noticed it. He almost couldn't maintain his gentle expression, his tone suddenly becoming stern. Did he hurt you? And Yunyan also realized it. Her glance at me flickered with a moment of jealousy. I turned my head away, not seeing it, but my expression cooled. Get out. I've always been this spoiled, especially when I'm sick. I tend to get irritable. These two didn't seem to notice anything wrong. Shinluming coaxed me a few words before leaving, but Yunyan shamelessly stayed. She bit her lower lip, and just before I sent her out, she suddenly asked me, Minyan, I heard that you fainted because of Suching this time. Is he really that powerful? Her gaze was evasive, with a barely noticeable shyness. This was very suspicious. I looked at Yunyan, but soon saw her frowning and complaining. He's forcing you. He knows you don't like him touching you, yet he made you pretend to faint to avoid him. I was pretending to faint. Why hide anything in front of me? Don't I know your personality? And Yunyan smiled and playfully scolded me, leaning in close with a voice that sounded like she understood me well. In high school, because Brother Luming said he wanted to see you come first, you ran the 800 meters with a fever during your period without fainting once. Are you really fainting just because of Suching now? But speaking of which, you really did put up with a lot for Brother Luming. That person rambled on for a while. It made me subconsciously wary. In my past life, Yunyan eventually entered into a marriage alliance with Shinluming. I had always thought she liked Shinluming, but now, so. Without showing any signs, I followed Yunyan's words, trying to probe more into her feelings for Suching, but I didn't notice that Shinluming had left without closing the door. Only one thought remained in my mind. Wow, this little seductress is actually eyeing my man. I was so upset that my chest felt tight, and even deliberately picking faults to make Yunyan cry and leave didn't ease my frustration. All I could think about was warning Suching to stay away from Yunyan when he returned. Especially to dress properly, not to let that little seductress see anything. But I waited a long time. Suching didn't come to my room to act spoiled and sleep with me as usual. I asked the servants, but I was told that Suching had returned to his apartment. The young master said he's also got a fever, and he can infect you. A fever? I was worried, but something felt off. He was lively and energetic just last night, but even the butler said that Suching looked unnaturally red when he left. So I pushed aside that feeling of wrongness. Instead, I felt a surge of excitement. I must go take care of the sick Suching. Suching wasn't honestly staying in his rental place. When I found him, he was squatting in front of a car tire, smoking a cigarette and using a wrench to dismantle something. There was also a voluptuous beauty with wavy curls standing nearby. I don't know what Suching said, but the woman covered her mouth and giggled. Alarm bells rang in my heart, especially when I approached. And the woman glanced at me, making a phone gesture to Suching as she left. Let's continue to be in touch later. Suching casually nodded. I called out in frustration, Suching. It was as if he only then noticed me, lazily responding. Why did you come here? His voice was hoarse, with a nasal tone. I then remembered he was feverish, and my heart softened again. You have a fever. Why aren't you resting at home? Suchin just ed. Lowering his head to continue his work without looking at me, he laughed and said, I need to work and save money, lest a certain miss says I'm incompetent and can't even support my own wife in the future. That was something I blurted out in anger before, because I felt that Suching wasn't ambitious, nowhere close to Shin Lu Ming, who was my grandfather's right-hand man. But now I squatted next to Suching, speaking earnestly. Then I'll support you. I still felt grateful and guilty towards Suching. Suching paused, and the screws in his hand even dropped. I picked them up and handed them back to him, then said, if you really like fixing cars, I won't stop you anymore. My family is quite wealthy anyway. Supporting you is no big deal. Although I knew that Suching later built his own career and even avenged my family, I could tell he didn't like the deceitful nature of business. But after hearing my heartfelt words, Sucheng's expression darkened. After a while, he scoffed. Then I really would be living off a woman. No, that's not. I tried to explain subconsciously, but Sucheng interrupted me. Thank you for Miss Chen's kindness. But if you really want to repay me for taking care of you during this time, just give me some money. That was extremely wrong. I frowned. The next second, the phone rang. It was grandfather, Xiaomian. Grandfather's voice was authoritative, with an imperceptible compromise. I've agreed to your divorce from Ah Cheng. I was shocked, my eyes wide, but I met Sucheng's calm and unsurprised gaze. Grandfather said. He didn't expect I would resist Sucheng so much, since you've been together for a while and still haven't grown to like this kid, and even want Lu Ming to help you, then let's divorce. But Ah Cheng's mother is about to have surgery. Wait until she's past the critical period before you go through with the divorce. To avoid mutual torment. No, grandfather. I was anxious and wanted to say something, but grandfather didn't listen to my explanation, said he had another matter, and hung up the phone. I even heard Shin Lu Ming's voice. He must have said something in front of grandfather. This was completely different from my past life. In my previous life, grandfather never agreed to a divorce from Sucheng until his death. As everything changed after my rebirth, holding my phone, I suddenly felt lost. But more overwhelming was the panic that gripped my heart. Could Shin Lu Ming and An Union's conspiracy also be brought forward because of this? Are you so happy that you've gone silly? Sucheng got up to wash his hands, wiped himself down casually, then firmly but gently pried my hand open. He then stared at my broken nail and frowned. That much strength, Sucheng. It took me a while to find my voice again. I asked him, did you say something to Grandpa? I didn't believe Sucheng hadn't done anything. He didn't deny it but countered, isn't this what you've always wanted? But I had clearly said that I wouldn't divorce him. I had also said that I would treat him well in the future. How could he not remember any of this? I glared at Sucheng, my nose tingling with emotion. A wave of inexplicable grievance surged up. Keep your princess temper in check from now on. Sucheng, seemingly oblivious to my upset mood, spoke for himself. Not many men can tolerate that, so you can't tolerate it anymore. Sucheng was taken aback. He didn't say yes or no, just raised an eyebrow. If anything, I've held you back, TSK. I should have endured and not touched you sooner. He muttered the last sentence very softly, as if talking to himself, but I heard it. That made the feeling of grievance even stronger, mixed with an unwitting irritation. I grabbed Sucheng's arm. Come back with me. That doesn't seem like a good idea. Sucheng didn't move, instead turning to persuade me. If the person you like sees this, they won't be pleased. He dragged up the last syllable, clearly on purpose, but I didn't catch on. Instead, I fiercely ordered the bodyguard who came with me to carry Sucheng back. He didn't resist. He only said to me, a melon forcibly twisted off its vine is not sweet. Indeed, a forcibly twisted melon is not sweet. Sucheng was tied to the bed by me, even though there was a lot of commotion below. His gaze towards me remained calm. He blocked me using old sayings, a normal physiological reaction. I can't control it. I also took away Sucheng's phone. That night, that woman really did call. Her name was Song Wu, true to her name. She was a dazzling beauty, just like Lin Xiu. I inexplicably remembered how that dead girl used to mock my poor development. I used to be able to retort, but now, I thought about it and then shyly changed into a sexy nightgown to find Sucheng. But Sucheng just grabbed my mischievous hand. His voice was low and sounded rather fierce. Don't touch recklessly. It was completely different from how he used to not get enough of me clinging to him. He really looks scary when he's stern. I was frustrated and felt cold inside. But I couldn't really keep Sucheng imprisoned, because his mother was still in the hospital. I accompanied Sucheng to take care of her. In front of his mother, Sucheng would behave as he used to, but once back at the villa, he became cold again. I felt it must be a debt I owed from a past life that I had to repay to Sucheng in this life. But after being avoided the only time I took the initiative to kiss Sucheng, I couldn't do more. Grandpa was determined to make me divorce Sucheng. Even after I refused, he scolded me unhappily. Isn't this what you always wanted? When you say you want it, you want it. And when you say you don't, you don't. What do you take Sucheng for? Shin Lu Ming watched helplessly beside me, as if indulging a stubborn child. Mian Mian, wouldn't it be nice to come back to me? I just found him disgusting, but I was helpless. because Grandpa didn't believe Shin Luming would betray him. He has always been so stubborn. Especially when I couldn't produce any convincing evidence. For the first time, I felt that Suching was right about what he said before. I was indeed spoiled. Without the title of Miss Shin's family, I was nothing. So that night, I let Suching go, and I gave him a large sum of money, thinking that I definitely had to repay Suching's kindness. I resolved that if he no longer had feelings for me, I would simply give him money to ensure he could live well. It seemed unnecessary to drag him into any turmoil, especially since none of this really involved him in the first place. I tried to console myself, forcibly ignoring the indescribable sadness in my heart. Suching, looking down at the card, had a complex expression that was hard to read. He asked me, "Have you really moved on? Does it matter if I have or haven't?" I retorted, my tone souring involuntarily. "After all, haven't you found someone else you like?" I was aware that he was still in contact with Songmu. It seemed all men eventually grew tired of the old and craved the new. Just a little kindness from someone, and they quickly become bored. My chest felt tight with anger, and I was reluctant to admit that I had actually fallen for Suching. "Fine," Suching said nonchalantly, his eyes fixed on me sharply. "Just don't regret it later, miss." I turned my head away, not wanting to look at him, and muttered, "Get lost." Suching really did leave. He left without a hint of reluctance. After the initial sadness and adjustment, I soon threw myself into my studies. Since my rebirth, I had been deliberately engaging in business. My grandfather didn't ask much, simply letting his people guide me. However, I lacked the natural aptitude for business, something even Lin Siyu, who never got along with me, couldn't help but point out. "You really don't need to do this. The Shin family won't fall into despair without you holding up the sky." When I learned from Shin Luming that Suching was determined to divorce me, and Yun took the opportunity to get close to him. Luckily, I managed to gather evidence of her deliberately seducing Suching. We weren't divorced yet, and Suching was still technically my husband. I released the evidence, pretending to be driven mad by betrayal, and I slapped Yun hard several times. I also took the chance to secure some project compensations from the Yin family, but Lin Siyu found out about this. "The private detective you hired happens to know my fiancé," she told me when she approached me, handing me an envelope. "You're still young, and you didn't clean up after yourself properly." I knew she meant well, so I swallowed my pride and thanked her. This actually improved our relationship significantly. In fact, Lin Siyu and I never had major conflicts. She was the only one willing to help me when the Shin family fell on hard times in my previous life, although Shin Luming stopped her. Following her suggestions, I learned numerous ways to deal with Yun. "You could say you're too proud to stoop to lowly deeds, or you could say you're falsely virtuous," she said, her arms crossed. "If you were willing to lower your standards a bit, what couldn't you achieve?" I felt she was implying something, and Yun, truly desperate, couldn't last long. She was a bastard daughter of the Yin family, and only had some status due to her close relationship with me. "Why dirty your own hands dealing with her?" Lin Siyu said casually. Not long after, a scandal broke out about Yun having an affair with her sister's husband. I knew Yun always resented her sister, so I subtly warned her sister. I never expected Yun to even seduce an old man out of desperation. She indeed didn't last. Her sister mobilized many people against her, and Yun ended up in a mental hospital. I just instructed people to take good care of her, just like she had done for me in my previous life. I was grateful to Lin Siyu, so when she made those remarks, I couldn't help but feel sad. But before I could dwell on my sadness, Lin Siyu suddenly leaned in closer, her eyes gleaming with a gossipy tone. "I heard your ex-husband has some skills. Hooking up with the female tycoon of M Group even before you two divorced, Ms. Shin, as the one he left behind. What are your thoughts on this?" I was stunned, and all the deliberately ignored pain surged back. When I saw Suching again, it was at a business banquet. The man who usually wore only vests and shorts had switched to a proper suit, adding a few degrees of authority to his appearance. Many ladies' eyes were drawn to Suching. However, upon seeing the woman accompanying him, those admiring gazes quickly turned into ones filled with anticipation for drama. Some even blatantly stared at me. Suching had come with Songmu, who, according to Lin Siyu, was the dominant female boss. I lost. Lin Siyu sighed after sizing up Songmu, standing beside me, completely outclassed in every dimension. "But no worries, these things can be cultivated. I'll take you to pick some male models later." Suching and Songmu were not far away, and Lin Siyu didn't lower her voice. As soon as she finished speaking, I noticed Suching glancing over in my direction, making me nervously pull Lin Siyu a bit farther away. Lin Siyu clicked her tongue. "What's there to be afraid of? He's openly out with his new love. Why can't you have some male models?" I couldn't very well admit that Suching's daunting glance had intimidated me. I had to mumble some vague excuse to brush it off. Lin Siyu wanted to say more but was whisked away by her fiancé who had come to find her. Seeing Shin Luming approaching me with a smile, I quickly turned away. Then, I saw Suching carefully shielding Songmu from a passing cart. It was frustrating. I took a deep breath and refocused on my tasks at hand. I couldn't help thinking that when I become a powerful boss myself, I'll hire a few male models too, just like Suching, to bring them right in front of him and infuriate him. This banquet was a trial set by my grandfather. seeing me as the future heir of the Shin family, honestly. I was shocked when he made this decision. It was completely different from my past life. Shin Luming barely managed to maintain his composure at that time, but he recovered quickly, his smile proper. Congratulations, Mian Mian. But with this comes greater responsibilities. You can't be as capricious as before. So, I suspected that my grandfather had taken my previous advice to heart, but he wouldn't admit it, and he even put Shin Luming in charge of a major project. I had to suppress my confusion and double down on my studies. Then came this trial. I spiritedly greeted a few close associates of the Shin family, and made a point to network with some promising newcomers. Unconsciously, I drank too much. When I sobered up a bit, Suchin had taken me to the balcony, my mind, numbed by alcohol. Couldn't quite keep up. I looked up at him blankly. Why did we come here? Suchin clicked his tongue. He seemed annoyed as he loosened his tie and asked me. Didn't you see that jerk trying to touch your waist? Did he? I tried to recall. I only remembered that the person had come a bit closer. And then Suchin had pulled me away. Wait, Suchin, realization dawned late. And I glared at him. What does it have to do with you? Especially since you're taking care of someone else. I didn't say that last part, needing to save some face. Suchin was amused by my anger. He seemed genuinely warm, and casually took off his suit jacket. My eyes naturally fell on his arms. The black armband was very conspicuous, outlining the tight muscles of his arms. I couldn't help but stare. But since he wore the armband, my gaze involuntarily drifted down slowly to the side of Sucheng's thighs. I'm wearing a shirt garter, Sucheng said casually. He raised an eyebrow at me. Want to see? I nodded feebly, but quickly regained composure, expressionless. Does a mess sound like it? Otherwise, how would Sucheng, a rough man, know so much? Sucheng, with a cigarette in his mouth, unlit, he smiled. Jealous? I didn't respond, my gaze growing increasingly fierce. Finally, I just warned him, we're not divorced yet. Sucheng, keep it in check. I don't want to be openly mocked. Are you jealous? Sucheng leaned in, his eyes intently on me. But before I could answer, he clicked his tongue again. Deep sleep. He called out to me. You glared so hard you woke up my brother. Me? Do you have some kind of issue? I was both angry and annoyed. Yet I felt my eyes reddening uncontrollably. Even though I had acted accordingly before, he still retained an utterly indifferent demeanor. And now he comes to me saying all this. Is he really treating me like a fool? The accumulated grievances surged up instantly, blurring my vision. Sucheng probably didn't expect my reaction to be so intense. He hurriedly whispered an apology to me, but as he softened his tone, my tears began to flow uncontrollably. You really are my ancestor. Sucheng muttered through clenched teeth. In the end, having no other choice, he lifted me up and sat me sideways on his lap. I gasped softly, the shock sobering me up instantly. I instinctively panicked and looked around, fearing someone might see us. Fortunately, there was no one around. The curtains on the balcony shielded us. Those inside couldn't see outside. I breathed a sigh of relief and was just about to lash out, but then my hand was guided to rest on Sucheng's chest. He slightly tilted his head back, slowly kissing the tears from my face. I stiffened, daring not to move, and finally gritted my teeth in frustration. Sucheng, are you a dog? Woof. He shamelessly nuzzled my ear as he barked, then eagerly added, shall I get you a leash? That just left me utterly speechless. With a hint of sarcasm, I retorted, aren't you afraid President Song will see this and fire you? I tried to get off his lap, but Sucheng pushed me back down. He sighed. Sounding helpless, ancestor, that's my sister, my real sister, the kind listed on the family registry. I was taken aback and turned to look at him stiffly. Then I saw him naturally pull out a family registry, flipping it open to show me, who carries around a family registry all the time. I suspected Sucheng had planned this all along. 18, my social obligations hadn't ended yet. Shin Luming was held up by Song Mu and couldn't come to find me. I left the banquet first, before long. Sucheng sneaked into my car like a thief. Silence filled the car all the way home. Once inside the apartment, clothes were scattered from the doorway to the sofa. It felt like he had sucked all the air out of my lungs, just as I was about to kick him out. Sucheng grabbed hold of me. He knelt on one knee before me, his breath scalding hot. Sucheng, I exclaimed, pushing him away in anger and annoyance. Go take a shower. It's fine. I don't mind. Sucheng's voice was sticky. It saves you the effort of kicking me later. Struggling to maintain my composure, I retorted. I mind you. Sucheng paused his movements. He ended up taking a shower anyway, but he didn't bother to remove his arm brace or shirt. Indeed, he looked good, he muttered. Since I'll have to shower again later, why bother? Shut up, I snapped. I felt like Sucheng was fooling around. Clearly, in my past life, I hadn't watched him this long. I gritted my teeth. That's enough. How can it be enough? Sucheng kissed the reddened corners of my eyes and suddenly said, Miss Shin is a heroine who, even during her period and with a fever, managed to run 800 meters without fainting. How could this little matter defeat you? His tone was harsh, and so were his actions. But those words sounded familiar. I vaguely remembered when I first heard them, and just as hazily, recalled something odd about Sucheng that day. Then it dawned on me, and I grabbed his hair. You were eavesdropping that day. If they wanted me to hear, how could I refuse? Suching firmly held my hand, our fingers intertwining at last. He smiled and nuzzled my nose to coax me. Ancestor, stop glaring. Get lost. 19. I was awakened by a recording. You say Shin Mian is the head of the family. Ancestor, you've always been the head of the family. As for Shin Mian is the head of the family. After a long silence, the man chuckled lowly. Do you really want me to say it? Say it. Suching likes Shin Mian. From the moment he first saw her, he wanted her to only ever sleep in his bed. That was somewhat restrained, compared to the things he whispered in my ear last night. This statement from Suching was definitely more subdued. All right. Can I touch you now? Touch where? Rustling sounds followed. Soon after, my drunken voice rang out. Male mama, you like that? Male mama, ancestor, be gentler with your teeth. The noises that followed were indecent. I covered my head with the blanket, expressionless, trying to deceive myself into pretending nothing happened. But Suching mercilessly pulled it off. He smiled meaningfully. Does your knee still hurt? A double entendre. At first, I still hadn't gotten used to Sucheng's departure. After all, he was really good at taking care of people, so I forced myself to learn self-defense for women, but it was really painful. And then, I ran into Song Min and Sucheng going to the hospital together. Unable to hold back, I drank a bit more alcohol to vent under Lin Siyu's instigation, but I didn't dare to drink outside. At that time, my knee hurt so badly. I was also crying a lot. Later, it seemed like I was carried and comforted for a long time in a daze. I thought I was dreaming. But I didn't expect Sucheng to actually come. He even recorded it, delete it. I unexpectedly tried to snatch Sucheng's phone, but he took the opportunity to embrace me fully. I was grinding my teeth in anger, with one arm around me. Sucheng raised an eyebrow. Should I also delete the part where you're the head of the family? I paused. Fine. Sucheng chuckled and kissed my flushed face. I know you care about your image. I was planning to delete it anyway. I hummed in disbelief. After all, this man could even deceive a ghost. I'm not lying to you. Sucheng saw through my thoughts and smiled meaningfully. Who knows which pervert even peeks when someone is bathing? Who's peeking? I stopped mid-sentence and suddenly paused. My eyes slowly widened, incredulously looking at Sucheng. A bold guess surfaced. So now, can you listen to me properly? Sucheng was also reborn, but his time was later than mine. After realizing I wasn't crippled, I guessed something must have happened. Sucheng was indeed someone who had contended with Shen Luming. He easily found the tricks Shen Luming had once played, and then handed the collected evidence to my grandfather. I realized belatedly, you teamed up to deceive me. I knew it. That proud old man, how could he so easily agree to let me and Sucheng divorce? The old man said he wanted to see how far you could go, having already suffered a loss once. Sucheng protested innocently, then bit my earlobe as if to vent. Stop moving. Your body can't take it. I snorted coldly but wisely retracted my hand. The old man has only you as a granddaughter. Shen Luming was originally paving the way for you. Just didn't expect his ambition to be so big. Sucheng massaged my sore back. He didn't expect you to support the Shen family, just to keep it from being taken over by outsiders. I remembered my shortcomings and felt somewhat guilty. Then I suddenly remembered something. What about your sister? Before we got married, I told you about my family situation. Sucheng's hand tightened a bit in anger, but he still held back. I felt a bit guilty, reminded by this. I remembered Sucheng had shown me his family photo before. He indeed had a sister who was very beautiful, who had an accident during a business trip and was left in an uncertain state between life and death. At that time, I was extremely resistant to Sucheng and didn't take it to heart, so I leaned in and kissed him, my tone appeasing. I was wrong. Don't be angry. Just as I was about to pull back, Sucheng pulled me back in and kissed me thoroughly. She was saved, lost her memory, and was taken abroad. Later, her husband died, and she inherited his family business. I only found out about this in my past life. Sucheng paused, then quietly looked at me. But at that time, you're no longer here. When Sucheng said this, he didn't mean that I had just died. When will you be able to see me? After I have avenged and reported to you at your grave. Sucheng lowered his head, playing with my hand, and smiled. After coming back, I realized I had picked up a little tail. I suddenly understood. No wonder I always felt that Sucheng had suddenly become more charming. It wasn't just the way he dressed. At first, I thought he had fallen for someone else. So you did it on purpose. I stopped speaking, but couldn't help glaring at Sucheng. Seeing you get jealous over a married female secretary, what else could I do? Sucheng chuckled, but his smile quickly faded. But if I had known you would disappear afterward, I would have preferred you to stay jealous. I was speechless. In the end, all I could do was awkwardly hug Sucheng's head to comfort him. Don't be sad. It's okay. I'm still here. As I spoke, I couldn't help but feel upset. Thinking about how sad Sucheng must be seeing me disappear again, the atmosphere became tender. Until Sucheng clicked his tongue. I'll need to rest up the day after tomorrow, but no need for male models. I'm enough on my own, anymore, and your little frame couldn't handle it. Sucheng, I should really shut this man's mouth. Sucheng said that the old man did not want him to become another Shen Luming, so he had to prove himself, and I needed to grow quickly in isolation. Besides, I'm quite curious about what you really think, I asked curiously. What if I actually didn't like you and found someone else while you were away? Su Cheng's face stiffened, then he lowered his head nonchalantly. Then you wouldn't be getting out of bed. My waist was still sore. I bit him again in anger, but Shen Luming, that bastard, became cautious, and afterward, he cleaned up his tracks very well. Su Cheng sneered, but his brows furrowed unconsciously. The evidence he had previously given to Grandpa was not enough to completely take down Shen Luming, and there was a trap in the big project Grandpa later gave to Shen Luming. However, Shen Luming was too cautious and did not fall for it. There is still a way. I thought about it and honestly told Su Cheng. Almost no one knew about Shen Luming's perverted obsession with me. The only one who knew was Yun Yun, who had always been in cahoots with him from start to finish. Su Cheng obviously didn't know, so upon hearing this, his face tensed up, radiating a terrifying fierceness. You don't need to dirty your hands for such scum. I quickly stopped Su Cheng and kissed him, swearing, the things from my past life will definitely not happen again. Su Cheng hummed a response. I wasn't sure if he had really taken it in. Originally, according to my plan, I only needed Su Cheng to come back to me. Then, instead of getting divorced, we would show off our love every day to provoke Shen Luming. This was something I had planned long ago. So, while Su Cheng was away, I endured the disgust and showed dependency and fondness for Shen Luming, stimulating his possessiveness. Su Cheng came back. We didn't get divorced, and our love was shown. I also noticed that Shen Luming's pathological possessiveness towards me was growing stronger. Just when I was preparing for Shen Luming to kidnap me, so I could use some self-defense techniques on him, he was arrested. The charges were trafficking in commercial secrets and money laundering, as well as attempted rape. The witness was Yun Yun, me, since Yun Yun went mad and entered the psychiatric hospital. I had almost forgotten about this person. Just like that, I turned to Su Cheng. It's not just like that, but with Shen Luming crippled and practically ruined, he won't have good days inside, he corrected me, unconsciously showing a hint of disgust in his expression. But Su Cheng paused, finally only saying, fortunately, the old man said I passed. Later, I found out that Shen Luming had always made Yun Yun impersonate me. Su Cheng thought it would disgust me, so he didn't tell me. It indeed was disgusting. And now, hearing this, I smartly grabbed Su Cheng's arm. My tone anxious. Did you leave any leverage in his hands? I suddenly realized, with my grandfather's capabilities, dealing with a Shen Luming would be easy. In my previous life, Shen Luming seized power while my grandfather was seriously ill. But this time he did nothing, instead letting Su Cheng handle everything. But in the previous life, it took Su Cheng 3 years. The panic inside me grew. I got so upset that my eyes reddened and my voice trembled. You wouldn't really be so desperate as to do something illegal, would you, Su Cheng? I tell you, when I said I wasn't divorced but widowed, I was talking nonsense. If something really happens to you, I'll immediately remarry with the children. You dare try that? Su Cheng's tone turned fierce. He suddenly turned his head stiffly to look at me. I have a child. The joyful smile on his face grew bit by bit, looking rather silly. I responded indifferently, pushing his hand away. No. I was just saying, what if there is one? Su Cheng persisted, pressing against my stomach. After all, the baby's father has been quite diligent lately. I scoffed coldly. If there was, I'd get rid of it. Su Cheng sighed. He does have something that the old man holds over him, but it's nothing illegal. You should be a bit understanding. If his own flesh and blood could betray him, what about a son-in-law like me? He needs to have a place where he feels secure. I remained silent. I knew all the reasons, but I couldn't help feeling upset. Upset on behalf of Su Cheng. It's worth it seeing you upset for me. He couldn't stay serious for more than 3 seconds, and his hands became restless again. I felt sorry for him and let it pass this time, but I didn't expect Su Cheng to become more outrageous, coaxing me with all sorts of silly nicknames. I was utterly exhausted. Just as I was about to close my eyes, he came up to my ear with a pitiful tone. I heard that once for Shen Luming you ran 800 meters with a fever during your period without fainting. These aren't the same thing. But he was incredibly jealous. It made me so angry that I gritted my teeth and endured. I don't even know when I finally fell asleep. I vaguely remember him suddenly asking seriously, do you regret not taking revenge with your own hands? Exhausted by Su Cheng, I blindly swatted him away with my eyes closed. What's the difference if you took revenge for me? Su Cheng chuckled lowly, showering my face with kisses. Right, there's no difference, my good wife. One more time. 24. I woke up in Su Cheng's arms. He held me very tightly, as if afraid I'd disappear the moment he let go. I couldn't help but glare at him a few times, but then I started laughing again, so I snuggled closer into Su Cheng's embrace, before I could adjust my position to continue sleeping. A casual voice sounded above my head. Wife, my brother is awake. I instantly gathered up all my tender feelings, annoyed, and bit his chest as if to vent. Shut up, let's sleep. I shouldn't have expected anything from this man whose mind is filled with nonsense.